just say we're talking about Andor.
You really do have to be in a specific mindset to watch this show because I'll just say it is a very intelligent show. It is a very heavy show.
I agree. I think I'll go for the word dense.
The first 10 minutes of episode 1 are insanely gripping.
A lot of it to setting that atmosphere is due to Nicholas Britell's excellent score.
The lore behind Canary and the timeline with Cassian is confusing to me.
I think that this is one of those situations where we are reminded that it wasn't all sunshine and daisies even during the Republic days.
A big critique of this show is that this show is boring. I love The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the high octane action of Star Wars. That is something that is crucial to Star Wars, and Andor has that, but it is not the backbone of the show.
Andor is very personal in its presentation. It's literally meant to show you the brewing rebellion within someone's soul, and Andor really scratches that itch.
What I see is the beginning.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, the Star Wars podcast. I am Grayson, one of your hosts.
I am Cole, the other host, Grayson. What are we doing today?
Today, we are talking about one of the shows that we are the biggest simps for historically on this show.
Yes,
even more so
one way to put
you,
it.
but it might be me in a little bit.
Absolutely me. Absolutely me. I yes. You know what? I'll just say we're talking about Andor. We're talking about Andor season 1. This is actually I guess we'll call it part 1 of our Andor season 1 retrospective leading up to Andor season 2.
Yes. Today we are talking about the first 3 episodes, the first arc in the show. That is episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 is called Casa. Episode 2 is That Would Be Me. And episode 3 is Reckoning. Before we hop into it, we are going to give a little bit of a recap here at the beginning. But before we do that, I guess not really non-spoiler thoughts, because if you've seen, listen, if you're watching this, like, it's under the pretense that you have watched Andor, or simply that you are not sure if you want to watch it and you want to kind of get some fresh thoughts. But Cole, rewatching these 3 episodes, or I guess before I should say, how often have you rewatched this show since its genesis?
So, this is the really fun thing about it. Even though I am such a, as you so beautifully put it, simp for Andor,
Yeah.
I have only watched Andor all the way through one time.
Okay.
I'm especially with TV shows, I'm not a serial rewatcher. I will rewatch a lot of movies, but with TV shows, I'm like, you have to be in a specific mood to rewatch an entire show.
Right.
Really, with Andor is that I will go back and watch like some of my favorite scenes over and over again.
Yeah.
But actually sitting down and rewatching the entire show, I have not done. And so it was one of the first thoughts that I had as I booted up episode 1. I was like, oh my god, I haven't rewatched this show since it came out. So it was nice. It was really nice to kind of have that full experience again, at least for the first 3 episodes so far after since season 1 came out.
Right. Yeah, and this is the longest live action show thus far. Like, every episode is at least minimum 40 minutes to an hour, and it's 12 episodes. Right? Yeah, exactly. Because I've rewatched Ahsoka like 2 or 3 times, and I've watched Kenobi a handful of times, because those are like 8 or 6 episodes, and some of those episodes are only like 30 minutes, right? So other than maybe Clone Wars and Rebels, which has a lot more bulk of an episodes, even though they are shorter, this is technically one of the longer shows. So it is, and I think this one specifically, you really do have to be in a specific mindset to watch this show, because it is, I'll just say, it is a very intelligent show. It is a very heavy show, right?
I agree. I think I'll go for the word dense. Like, it's. I think we probably had this conversation before, or at least I was talking about this with someone, that like Andor is kind of similar to, especially early days Game of Thrones, where like if you want to know what's going on, you have to be paying attention the whole time.
Yes.
And I mean, God forbid you pay attention to the thing you're watching. But it's not one of those things where you can just kind of have it on in the background,
right,
and like look away and be doing other stuff, because it really it not only asks for, but like it requires your full attention, because everything is so intentional. And it's just really beautiful in how it presents itself. So yeah, you got to stay locked in. Turn those subtitles on. I know you can't. I know you can't hear.
Yeah, so that is an interesting point you make about specifically paying attention, and also with the subtitles. Is the first time I watched these first 3 episodes. If you remember, when this show came out, the first 3 episodes all dropped in one night, and then the rest was one by one.
That was crazy.
Yeah, so, and I guess it makes sense because they're like, let's kick off the show kind of, I mean, truly, these first 3 episodes are kind of like the setup for the next 3 arcs to come. It's like,
for sure.
And I think these are the shortest episodes. I'd have to double check, but I do think later on the episodes get closer to an hour, whereas these are like anywhere from like 42 to 39 minutes. So they're a little bit shorter, but they kind of feel, it really, this one kind of feels like almost like a mini movie in a way.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know. It feels better to say of it to call it like a season premiere, like one of those really big episodes, like how they did for Bad Batch season 1. Yeah, exactly. Where like that first episode, one of the best episodes, by the way, is just over an hour long. Really great episode. But yeah, watching episodes, I completely forgot about that. So thank you for mentioning that. It all released in like a batch of 3 for that first release. But watching episodes 1 through 3 and then stopping for us to talk about it, it's making me feel like, yeah, this is a great way to kick off a season. Yeah. Because they all just, I mean, it's so consecutive. You might as well just get rid of the credits for each episode and just put it into one. Right. Because it does feel like a mini movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were talking about paying attention. Like, I have a bunch of notes here, and they're nothing, some of them are not anything crazy, but like there would be times where I'm like, oh, let me take a note real quick. And then I'm like, okay, I have to pause, because if I even miss a little bit of like looking down to write, like I feel like I'm missing a lot. And so that was where so I'd pause and I'd jot down really quick, and then I'd unpause because I'm like, all right, I want to get back into it.
I had to do that, because I would stop to write down, but I wouldn't pause, and I would go like, oh man, I totally missed that. So I'd have to rewind,
to go back,
and then start it over. So
so before we get into kind of the chronological, but we'll kind of hop all over the place, I'm going to give a quick recap of all 3 episodes consecutively, to kind of give the full story. Feel free to chime in, Cole, in case I miss any details. I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can, but it might take a little bit. I
think I will say, just as like a little bullet point for everybody that's watching. One, you had already mentioned this, but we kind of needed to extrapolate a little bit more on that. If you have not seen Andor season 1, why don't you go watch episodes 1 through 3 and then come back, and then you can talk about it with us, like hear us kind of go back and forth on these, leave some comments down below, and essentially this has the potential to be very interactive. So when we finish this episode, we'll tell you the episodes we're going to watch next, and you can watch them, and then we'll come back for the next episode and we'll cover those too. So you can watch it along with us leading up to season 2. But anyway, Grayson, please, by all means.
So I'm going to be a little bit unconventional here. I'm going to kind of go in chronological order here. So there are flashbacks throughout these 3 episodes. I'm going to talk about the entirety of the flashbacks in the beginning from the get-go, because it kind of gives you context. It does layer the story a good bit, but basically what you need to know, our main character, Cassian, did not always used to be Cassian. He was Casa from the planet Kanari, and he lived with a tribe of children that were basically left alone because a mining disaster happened. I have some things to bring up about this in a second, but from what I understand, under the Republic's reign, and then later on the Empire kind of came involved, but essentially all of the adults are gone. A ship crashes on the planet, allegedly a Republic ship, although they have CIS symbols on them, which really confuses me.
I'm so confused about that. I'm glad you brought that up. I thought I was like kind of stupid. Yeah, I was these are CIS guys.
That is a note that I have that I'm sure we will talk about at length, because I've been doing heavy research on this. But the ship crashes, the kids, they go to investigate, especially the older kids, they kind of lead. Casa has presumably a little sister, or at least a little girl that he is very close with, but we do find out later on that is it assumed to be his sister. They investigate the crash. The leader of the girls ends up getting killed by one of these officers who is not dead. The kids kill this officer in retaliation. Casa makes his way onto the ship. He finally sees his reflection for maybe one of the first times or a long time, and begins wrecking the ship until two scavengers end up showing up, Marva and Clem, who are his adoptive parents. They end up putting him under some sleeping gas because they know that if he stays here, he is going to get killed. And they take him and they whisk him away off of Canary. We jump to present day, or which would be 5 BBY, so 14 years after Revenge of the Sith. Cassian is on Morlana 1, and he has a hint that there is someone at this club brothel that was from Canary, and he is looking for his sister. He gets harassed by these sentry guards that work for Preox Morlana. They're drunk. They are doing things that they are not supposed to be doing while on the clock. But he finds out that the Canary girl has been gone for months, and he leaves. The guards harass him. They try to kind of shake him down. And in the midst of it, Cassian retaliates, kills one on accident, and realizes he's not really going to get out of this and he kills the other one in cold blood, rushes off to his ship, heads back to Ferrix. Next day, he goes to his friend Brasso, makes an alibi, and then he goes to his ex-girlfriend Bix, who he is trying to get in contact with this buyer, this seller. He's trying to get off Ferrix as quick as possible until things lie low. He has an NS9 Starpath unit, which is this very rare object that the Imperials can use to help. I believe it's within like 9 radial parsecs, like help detect all of this stuff. It'd be very useful to have. Bix is hesitant, but she was like, all right, I'll reach out to my contact and see what I can do. So the contact eventually ends up heading that way. There's kind of some stuff going on Ferrix as this is happening, but we jump over to our boy Cyril Karn of Preox Morlana, who is
Serial
the most
Karn.
yeah, good old Cyril. Yeah, the serial adventures he will have. So he's pretty sir, yes, sir, except when he's not, because his boss is like, let's just sweep this under the rug. These guys probably deserved it, and we don't need the Imperials on our asses, essentially. And so Cyril is like, I'm not gonna let this fly. 2 of our guys died. So he goes and he kind of disobeys orders, and he ends up finding this trail that they are looking for a male or a Canary male who committed this murder. Well, Bix's current boyfriend ends up he gets a little bitter because good old Tim. Yeah, good old Tim. He works with Bix, ends up ratting Cassian out because apparently he knows that Cassian is from Canary, because I guess at one point or another Bix told him. And they end up going to Ferrix to find Cassian. They have an old image of him from 6 years ago. He had an Imperial arrest charge for Imperial destruction, a bunch of other things. Preox Morlana shows up. They're going to take down Cassian. At the same time, our buyer, who has an unknown name at this time, although we find out later on this is a man named Luthen Rail, he shows up to get this item, and this all happens simultaneously. Cassian meets with the buyer, and the entire town kind of has Cassian's back at the same time as Preox Morlana shows up. This whole chaos happens, but Luthen is like, hey, I've been watching you, and I'm like, I will pay you the credits for this item, but I'll pay you 1,000 more if you tell me how you got it. And he's like, you walk in like you belong. They're so fat and greedy, they don't even pay attention to you. They can't even fathom the idea. And Luthen's like, I've been watching you. We need people like you. There is more to you than meets the eye. I want you to come with me. And Cassian is like, why would I come with you? But they get into a firefight, great action sequences, and they pretty much they get away pretty much unscathed, except for Tim. Tim gets shot because Bix gets
except for Tim,
and he tries to right his wrongs because Bix was not happy when she found out that Tim ratted out Cassian. But through some quick endeavors and with the backup of Ferrix, the people of Ferrix, specifically Brasso and a few of the others, they get off the planet. Brasso. Yeah, Brasso, what a guy. They get off the planet, and he also leaves his mother, Marva, on the planet with his droid B2EMO, and he's going to get out of there because he realizes it's not safe, and he wants to get away from the people and from his family to protect them. And that is essentially where episode 3 leaves off. That is the broad strokes of the first 3 episodes. So
well done. Nice wrap up there.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I did that all from the hip. And I'm going to shout out someone who actually did a better recap than me. And so it was very helpful going into this. But shout out to Sunny, or AKA Twin Suns, on Instagram and on TikTok. She's a friend and fan of the show. By the way, Cole, she played KOTOR because of us. And it was
yeah, that's awesome. You have to tell me. You got to tell us how your playthrough went, please.
So I don't know if she put it on an archives or whatever, but she on Instagram, she was live documenting her playing through the entire thing. And so I was
great.
I was watching, and I was like, I'll tell you my favorite companions are and everything.
Yeah.
So she had a blast. So, which is why we're thinking about possibly doing a KOTOR 2 playthrough together.
We might be doing KOTOR 2 because both of us need to fully, kind of complete
we know what happens, but we've never played it ourselves all the way through.
Yeah.
So anyway, shout out to Sunny. She did an awesome recap. She's probably going to do better recaps than we will do, but go check her out. She does great stuff. Okay, recap done. Let's talk about the whole Kenari thing. I think
let's talk about Andor.
Yeah. What are we doing? So the whole Kenari, the lore behind Kenari and the timeline with Cassian is confusing to me. And it is, I'm not gonna lie, probably the only critique I have with this show is specifically when you start to put the pieces together of, okay, the first note is Cassian does not look 6 when he is on Kenari, because we keep on that line that he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old. Bro is not 6. The little girl might be 6, but he is not. But now there's more to this.
Yeah.
But I'll let you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So that is a good point, and I had thought about this before. And so what makes me realize, what makes me think that perhaps he's definitely not 6 in Kenari, right? And so when he says I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, he's probably talking about whenever the disaster happened where he lost his family. Because when he sees his reflection in the ship and he starts breaking it, I was like, what's the boy doing? Why is he so mad at this? I think it's either a rebellious spirit that he hates what has been done to him through these kind of establishments here.
Yeah. Or
he is angry because of the loss of the lifestyle that he once had. Right. But I definitely think that that 6 years old thing, that's probably just whatever happened.
Yeah.
And very likely as a result due to the Republic at the time.
Right. That's the interesting thing as well is, okay, I pulled up the Kenari tab in my encyclopedia, and it says that the Republic, there was a mining thing, it became toxic, the Republic left. All right, it was marked as a don't go there. But then it also says later on that the Imperials came back, and there was more stuff to happen there, which I was kind of confused on the wording there. I don't know if it's a thing in the book or whatever. But yeah, that's the interesting thing is, okay, they are saying Republic. This is a Republic ship. The Republic is at the very least at its tail end, but it's not the Empire yet.
I think that this is one of those situations where we are reminded that it wasn't all sunshine and daisies even during the Republic days. We're shown a lot of wonderful moments of heroism and victory when you're watching the Clone Wars and all that. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of bad stuff that doesn't get shown kind of on the sidelines, especially for planets that are in the mid-rim, right? Or even in the colonies, anywhere that's not directly in the core of the Republic, things are not going to be really, really great, especially during wartime. Which also begs the question, what was that separatist ship doing there? And honestly, that leads into this discussion about what exactly is this discrepancy here between is it the Republic or is it the CIS?
Yeah.
Because they're wearing the CIS badges, but then Marva says they're not going to live when they find out that they've killed a Republic officer.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I'm thinking is that whatever is going on that Marva and what was his name again? Clem, right. That Marva and Clem kind of hijacked themselves onto. Mm-hmm. There was like some sort of mission going on because a Republic cruiser was already on the way.
Right.
And so maybe they were kind of like tracing them or something, and maybe it was Marva and Clem that had killed the Republic officer, but there wasn't any, they're not going to be there to be blamed. It's going to be the children that could be blamed. Or maybe there's a Republic officer that was on board of the CIS ship, right? Something was happening with them, like the crews, their skin was poisoned essentially because of gas that Clem was mentioning. That I think that they hijacked the ship with gas.
Okay. Yes, that was the other interesting thing, is because I was like, are these people aliens or is something just wrong with them? But they do mention, because they walk on the ship and they have the mask and they're like, and B2 Moa's there and he's like, the toxicity is gone.
And it honestly, it could be that, like, because I immediately thought, oh, well, are they saying like the kids killed a Republic officer when they shot darts at that guy that was shooting at them? But he had a CIS patch. But then I was like, okay, what if this is like a really convoluted story that is really in depth, but it's not necessary for us to know? Like, what if these guys are covert Republic agents that are pretending to be CIS agents?
Right.
And then they end up getting in this whole mess.
And that's because that's the other interesting thing as well, is like, we don't really ever see, like, okay, if this was a fully like Confederacy of Independent Systems separatist ship, why are there no battle droids? You know, why would there not?
Right.
Like, it's like these are just all people. Like, we don't ever really see just people for the separatists. So you're right. I think it is a very interesting story, and I would love to get more about it. Make a Marva book or something. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Like, that'd be really fun. But again, it's not really important to specifically why Cassian gets off the planet. I think there is layers to it, and it is meant to be speculative. And what leads me to the next question is, like, will we ever get any more answers about Cassian's sister, or is that ever go? Because I'm gonna keep in mind, I don't remember. It has also been just the same amount of time for me since I have watched this show, and I don't really remember those plot threads ever showing up again. So that's something I'm really intrigued by.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, because this was like one of the chief notes that I had brought up about episode 1, which was that I said episode 1 literally starts with Cassian looking for his sister. It's like one of the first things that he says, like, I'm looking for my sister. And it's a plot thread that, as far as I recall, is never seen through. Nope. And it makes me wonder, is that ever going to be solved? Because it's also explained to us, or it's shown to us, which it was really cool that I had only noticed this when I watched it recently, that the way that it's presented from a cinematic perspective, episode 1 starts like when you first see Cassian walking away from the camera towards like just the Morlana 1 buildings and all that, but it ends with the camera going away from his sister, watching him go. And not only is that just like a really cool cinematic parallel, but it also makes me think, is this intentionally never going to be picked up again? Because it's just a part of his life that he will never be able to resolve anymore, because it's over and it's gone.
Hear me out. Crazy theory, probably will not happen. He never does solve it, right? He goes into the rebellion we're going to in season 2 and everything, and we know he will perish in Rogue One. But maybe we know that Andor season 2 is going to go directly into the events of Rogue One. Now, let's say it connects and it fades to black, but then it fades back in, and we cut to a random woman years after the Imperials have been wiped out, right? That the New Republic is back in. Yeah. And it's Cassian's sister. And she finds out, and it's just her living her life, happy. She actually did live. She did get off of Kenari, and their Imperials are gone. And maybe she doesn't even know about her brother, but because of his actions, she is out there in the galaxy and she is safe. And he never knows, and she never knows. But what he did, that chain of events, led the Imperials to be defeated and hurt. I don't know. That could be interesting, and it may not happen, but that would be, I think, very smart storytelling.
It could be really great. Like, maybe we just get a small scene of, like, the New Republic reestablishing Kenari or something like that. And I don't know. I mean, that could be really sweet.
Because we also don't know if the girl that was allegedly working at this club was actually Cassian's sister. We just know that she left months ago, and that's all. That's all we know.
And it just didn't. And there's nothing found out through there. And I would be all right with it if we just don't find out as well, because I just think that the way that it was presented in episode 1, and then as far as I know, is never brought up again. I think it's done so in a way that is just kind of telling you, hey, this is something that happens, especially in a galaxy so large. For Star Wars, like, people will, get lost and lose touch and contact all the time.
I mean, that's, and even though it maybe people might be dissatisfied that it's like, oh, we never get that plot thread. For myself, I'm kind of like, well, that is also, not everything gets answered in life, And so I'm like, I think that would be a testament to, the show to be like, we're never going to follow up with this again. And that's intentional, because it does fizzle out. Cassian gets integrated with the rebellion, and that is his life, But I don't know, maybe there's something that could pop up later on. We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, I would be more than happy for it to be brought up again. In like a weird way too. Like, God, I mean, what if she like ends up working for the Empire, right? Like, because the Empire does come back to Kenari, and they do like not as we know, the Empire sucks, and so if they're coming back to a place that the Republic abandoned, they're probably reestablishing those mines, maybe kidnapping the workers. Oh God, like that could be.
What if
that could be something?
What if he's like, she gets part of the Empire, and then he's like, he finds, say it's season 2, right? He finds out that he's like, he's got to kill this Imperial person, and he finds out it's his sister.
Oh man,
that would be. I could see them doing that, and it being this like big thing, and that's like kind of comes back to the whole Rogue One thing of like, we've done terrible things for the rebellion, spies, saboteurs, assassons, Like,
and it's a through line to him deciding whether or not to shoot Galen. Gosh.
That could be really good. I don't know. I'm getting way too hyped right now, but that
could be something.
That could be such a blindsiding moment, because like, to be like, truly, I did forget about this plot thread, and only rewatching it, like, say I didn't rewatch season 1 before season 2, and that brought up, I would have been like, I mean, even if you watch it regardless, if that's like a reveal that they do, that would just smack you so hard across the face to be like, oh my God, his sister. I don't know. They may not do that, but like, that would be kind of mind-blowing storytelling television right there.
Well, I mean, really, it is like it's the Chekhov's gun scenario, right? It's shown to us, and it's shown to us presumably for a reason, if the writing is good, right? And so, like, I almost feel like you're meant to forget about it, so that when whatever happens potentially in season 2, you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. And then you go back and you watch and you're like, oh, that's so cool, right?
I agree.
It's like, hey, I'm showing this to you now. You're going to forget about it, but you'll be happy that you did, because I'll pop it. It'll be like a surprise, right? Be something, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting as well, because we were talking about how these first 3 episodes came out at once, but the rest came out week to week to week. But this next season, it's 3 episodes a week. It'll be like, it'll be a lot. So I don't know. I'm intrigued, but
how many episodes? Do we know?
12 as well. So it'll be
nice.
3, I think.
It's gonna be a great month.
Because this, it's gonna be great. This season only takes place over a year, but the next season, every 3 episodes is a year. So it'll be it'll be dense. Like you said, it'll be very dense. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention. So that leads me into my next thing. A big critique with this show, and I'm sure if you're listening, maybe some of you are not fans of Andor, and hey, that's okay. Thanks for being here. That being said, a big critique of this show is that this show is boring. The first 10 minutes of this show prove to me I don't agree. I said I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I can accept you having that opinion. That being said, the first 10 minutes of episode 1 are insanely gripping, dude. It is everything about Morlana 1 is just ticking the boxes for me. It is Star Wars Blade Runner, and I freaking love it, dude.
I'm 100% in agreement, and I think I have to bring this up simply because I had written this note almost exactly when the episode started. Was a lot of it to setting that atmosphere is due to Nicholas Bertel's excellent score, which it is such a strong part of the show that I think people really don't talk about enough. But like when you see like when you see Caspian's like footsteps go by and like you kind of hear that little musical riff. It's very gentle, and like the camera pans over, you see Morlana 1, like the rain's pouring, and then Luthen's theme, his little motif every time you see him, I love that theme so much. It honestly made me love the character before I even started to know him.
Right.
But it's very atmospheric, it's very immersive, and yeah, it's not boring, okay? Just you really made me laugh before we started recording. Grayson was saying this thing where he's like, sometimes people expect, just kind of jingling keys, like, here's Darth Vader. It's so exciting. And I think that people really should return to getting used to like slow paced stuff, feeling the moment. And like, it's okay if like your preference is like action packed stuff,
right?
But don't call something boring if it's not to your tastes, and like that it's just being done in a certain way that is not objectively bad, right?
I think there is this expectation with Star Wars for it to be constantly entertaining and action packed, and I get that. That is how I would say the general formula is for Star Wars. I am thinking about other TV shows, specifically Daredevil Born Again is coming out right now. And that show it's phenomenal. The original Daredevil show is also phenomenal. And there's so many other television shows that the driving force is the dialogue, the pacing, and the tension. And that is the driving force for Andor. And that is also not to say that the action is not good in this show, because it is really good when it happens. Now, it may not happen as often as The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and that's okay, because this is a different kind of show. This is a long form, non-serialized television show that is telling a very large story of peaks and valleys, of crescendos, right? Of tension and action and character building. And that is why Andor is so good. And there is nothing wrong with the other Star Wars shows being this way. But again, this one is something that requires your time, requires your attention. And when you do give it that slight bit of mental effort, it is every bit as worth it as the other Star Wars content. I love The 100%. Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all of these other things. Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the high octane action of Star Wars. That is something that is crucial to Star Wars. And Andor has that, but it is not the backbone of the show.
Yes, I think Andor focuses, and Rogue One did this as well, but I think it's very heavy in Andor, that it is very character focused, very character centric, and like that's not to suggest that the movies and the shows and like the other shows are not, but Andor is very personal in its presentation. It's less about the big space battles and more about the people that take place in those battles, the people like that form their relationships in this galaxy that is divided, that is soul crushing and dark. And like it's literally meant to show you the brewing rebellion within someone's soul. Like the reason why they are fighting against the Empire, because we know that they will fight the Empire. We've seen that story, and it's fun to watch, and I will always be there to watch it.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of something for everybody. And Andor really scratches that character-focused, character-driven itch that I think Star Wars doesn't get to show from time to time.
Right.
So
I'm currently watching the first season of True Detective for the first time, and that is a show that is like, Andor takes a lot of beat, not from that show specifically, but in the sense of it being this slow burn, character-driven drama. And yes, there's some moments of some high intensity action, but when I, coming from that show to this show, I'm like, this is just great television in general. It may not be up to the same snuff as like what you expect from Star Wars and that classic adventure, and that's okay. As Sam Witwer and Dave Filoni have said, it's okay if the stories are different, because not every story is the same story.
If every story was the same story, like, we would just need to tell one and then leave it there. There would be no point.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's why going from this show to Ahsoka is refreshing, because yes, Ahsoka also has a quintessential Star Wars things in there, but it also embraces the mythology, the aspects of the Force and ancient galaxies, right? Something that other Star Wars projects do not do. And that is why Ahsoka is special. But why Andor is special is because these characters are deep and intense and feel so real. Anyway, we'll get off our high horse on why. It's just, oh gosh, it's just so good. And that's going to lead me into my next point, is that Diego Luna as Cassian is a tour de force, man. He is so freaking good, and I want him to have more roles beyond this, because he is insane as Cassian.
He is just so excellent. And I'm again, like, I think we always bring this up. It is so funny that Andor is the one, like, out of like that what was it, like the Variety magazine or something, with Mando and Ahsoka and Kenobi and Andor, and everybody was making jokes about like, oh yeah, like Cassian thinks he's one of the crew. It was the best one, okay? Like it is the best one. It was like, oh, I don't want to hear a story about Cassian. Yes, you do.
Yeah,
you do, especially now. It is some of the best Star Wars, because it is excellent in its world building. This is I mean, I need to look up what George thinks about it, but I have a feeling that he's like, oh yeah, this is really good. So
man, I hope so. It's hard to kind of go in and find what all of the stuff that George likes, but yeah, dude, like, it's just great. Like, this opening scene of him, of course, walking through this city on Morlana 1 and going into this club. The dialogue with the girl that he's speaking to is just like, it's just so clever. And again, just revealing the layers of the story. And it leads me also to something which we get a little bit more of a reveal later. Cassian is just the Riz master, I guess. Like, Marva says something later on. She's like, oh yeah, you and all your girlfriends or whatever. Like, and he's just like, he's risen this chick up, like,
we see it in Andor's, or I mean, we see it in Rogue One as well, that like, he's got a mouth on him, like he's kind, funnily enough, you had mentioned Daredevil Born Again. It kind of reminds me of Matt Murdock.
Yep.
Where like, he's just very snappy. He's got a lot of charisma, but it's like natural charisma. I think I might be getting this line wrong, but it's like the two corpo guys that are at the bar. He's like, you laughing about us over here? Like, what's so funny? And then like Cassian just kind of like, he takes a drink. He's like, I don't see anything to laugh about at all. Like there's nothing to laugh about at all. And like, he's got a very hard face on him.
He's like, what's that supposed to mean then?
What's that supposed to mean? That's a hard look, isn't it?
Yeah. He's just like, oh yeah, the guy says like, that's a hard look for like a small guy, or
for a little thing such as yourself.
Yeah.
Kills both of them, by the way.
Yeah. Kills one on accident, and then the other, dude, I remember, and there's a couple moments like this in the show, and there's a lot of people that like, I critique that they're like, Cassian's a little too brooding for them, and I get that. I know some people want maybe some more fun characters, but truly, like, Cassian is such a action hero in my eyes. I'm just like, he really embraces the neo-noir kind of like Humphrey Bogart kind of neo-noir detective, I guess, in the sense that like he just kind of fits into like being this kind of, you know, the vibe I get from Cassian is like when you first see Aragorn in Lord of the Rings as Strider in like the, you know, in the bar in the prancing pony, and he's just kind of sitting there, and that's Cassian, man.
He kind of fits the role that love him to death George Lucas took away with the Han or like Greedo shot first edit, right? Because Han shooting first, which is what canonically happens, wink wink, shows us that like, yeah, there is a very significant gray line in this galaxy. Han is a hero. He certainly becomes one, but he's not. Yeah, he's a pirate. He's a smuggler. You know, like he's not below just kind of pop. You know, because like Greedo was absolutely gonna shoot him, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Cassian fills this role a little bit now because there is an interesting parallel here. Like he is introduced both in Rogue One and in Andor with him killing someone with shock value. He shoots like the rebel sleeper agent in the back because he knows that guy's gonna get caught and like that secret's gonna get out. He's not gonna be able to escape. He kills him. Shock factor, you're like, oh my god, like they do this sort of stuff for the rebellion, because you don't think about that. Rogue One and Andor makes you think about this stuff, and then with this, like, oh, he's gonna be the good guy. He's gonna go, all right, yeah, look, just get out of here, and like he'll beat him up, he'll rough him up, and he'll let the corpo guy go. Nope, bang, sorry.
Because you know what? He's just like, we'll go in together. It was an accident. He fell. You know, you pushed him too hard, and then he hurt his head or whatever. But what's interesting about this is the moment in Rogue One that he does it is for the rebellion. The reason he does it for here is not only for himself, but the protection of his family, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's also, I thought it was a little silly that like, I mean, we know that those two like corpo guys were not the smartest, the sharpest tools in the shed.
Yep.
But something especially dumb is that once your partner is killed and you are being held at gunpoint, I wouldn't take a look at the guy holding a gun pointed at you and say, I'll take you in, we'll go together. We'll both be at blame. If anything, he should have said like, I won't say a thing. But no, he says
this never happened. You know, he had too many drinks. He fell and he hit his head. You were never here, you know, like kind of what we see later on very shortly after with Brasso and Cassian, other than they're in, you know, cooler tension. But you know, Cassian goes to Brasso for the alibi, and you know, first Brasso's like, well, who's after you? And then he's kind of like, you know, you disrespected my beverage of choice. Just like, as your host and provider, I was offended by this, you know, like the layering of the alibi, which never really comes into play, but it was cool because that was the first thing that Cassian did, of being like, I need some sort of, you know, some sort of reason as to why I wasn't, you know, why nobody saw me last night. And so, but again, like you said, those two guys, not very smart. They're pretty stupid. They were the guy, the chief inspector guy or whatever, that tells Cyril to like drop it, is like, those guys had it coming. He's like, truly, that dude was unpleasant. They were drinking on the job. They were in a brothel that they were not supposed to be in or whatever. He's like, just let it go, you know? Which like,
because he's like, if this is gonna open with the Empire, that's gonna be so many things on my back that I'm gonna have to deal with. And yeah, like that guy has worked there for a long time. Yeah, at least you can feel that.
Right.
I also just really liked that line that like, as soon as Cassian gets the gun and he points it at the other guy, he's like, tell me what to do, like go on. You know, and it's very indicative of his character. Like, I don't think I see, like, despite his introduction there, I don't see Cassian as like, you know, just this brutal murderer, right? I just see him as someone that is like, he's been through so much, really rough around the edges. So like, kind of like how you said, like he's that very gruff noir type character that, like I would say he leans on the better side, but he's definitely not your paragon of goodness.
He's supposed to be the shadier character. That's always the character he's been, even to his opening moment in Rogue One. This is not your Luke Skywalker. This is not the guy that goes and leads the charge for the good fight. He's doing dirty work, and a lot of other people in the rebellion are.
That's why Luthen likes him, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of these characters are like that, which is really really good. And I like the supporting characters here. I kind of slept on Brasso, to be honest. I thought he was a great character, even down to in episode 3 when there's the pod from the Primor ship, and he just like attaches the cable thing so that with that and just kind of walks away, and then it comes back later on where the guy flies away and just like it's just, oh man, dude, it's so great.
Oh my god, wait, that's what happened. Okay, so I was
did you not know that?
watching. No. I forgot. So like when I was watching the three episodes, I was rewatching them. I guess I had looked away at the exact moment that Brasso was attaching that thing. So I just watched the guy get in the ship, and then for some reason I thought he was just a really god-awful pirate or pilot that he just crashed, and I was laughing to myself. I was like, dude, these guys are so terrible at their jobs.
So like a couple scenes before, and then like it's when the whole Tim thing happens, they send the guy to the pod. There's a scene like a scene or two later where Brasso is just walking away. It doesn't even show him putting the thing on. He's just kind of looking to the left, and he's just walking away from the pod. And then later on, the guy gets back in the pod and he flies away, and the thing is like, it's the same framing, but it hooks onto the thing, and you're like, Brasso just kind of was like, yeah, let's get this guy out of here.
I think this is a good moment, actually. Sure. Let's talk about Ferrix and its presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when we're first introduced to Ferrix, like we're shown a couple people. We're shown like Bix and Tim and Brasso, and then there's those two guys that
I think it's like a father and son or something like that.
The father and son duo, they're really great. The kid has like that one face that you'll always remember, like his shot of like a few episodes later on. But then there's also that guy that like Cassian owed him money, and he hires like that friend.
The other guy's like, whoa.
He's like, he just told me to stand here, But and also like Marva as well, but like Ferrix in general has so much culture around it. And one of the notes that I put down was like, it's very alive in the way that it's presented, and it makes like such a small part of the galaxy feel so lived in. Like so in depth. And it just kind of reminds us that there is so much going on besides the Skywalker story, which is what I really think that Andor and even Rogue One kind of like shine on, was just kind of the civilian aspect of things. Yeah, no, I mean, down from the guy hitting the anvil as like the gong. Love that guy.
And I will say there's another critique for this show that, and I get it in the next 6 episodes, but these episodes, they have a decent amount of aliens. That's a critique that people have, is that there's not enough aliens and creatures in this show. And I get maybe with like creatures, but like I've kind of forgot how many alien species are on Ferrix, and also on Morlana as well. There's a handful there. Yeah, I think it is like, I see where people are coming from, because there are no alien main characters, I guess I would say. Sure, yeah. At least as far as I can recall from this moment. But like there are still, it's not like they're not there. We see plenty of them in kind of the surrounding areas. I don't think that I never saw it as an issue personally. Yeah, and I think the locations where you don't really see them kind of make sense, because it's like, okay, when we get to the next episodes, like on Aldhani, the main crew are all humans. Yeah, maybe it would have been nice to have like an alien or like a Twi'lek or something, but like also all of the people on the planet that we see that are not part of that main crew are also human, and it's not a big thing. That's just that is the known thing, is that humans still are the biggest species in the galaxy. That has been stated before in other supplemental material. Same thing in Narkina 5. The Empire hates aliens. They're just gonna want to use humans to build their Death Star, and then of course when we go back to Ferrix, we have more aliens again.
believe me, man, like you don't like Narkina 5 in terms of like how they treat their prisoners. The aliens are put in much worse places.
They're genocided. Like, they're just killed off.
Yeah.
That's what's happened,
Yeah.
you know? The only other exceptions are when the species are physically stronger, but what the thing is they are still treated as lesser life forms because they are viewed as stupid. That is why the Wookiees got enslaved, okay?
And that thing can understand you too, so watch.
Ferrix rocks, dude. It's a great planet. I love the characters here.
Yeah, I mean how they have that thing where like when the corpos show up and like they start like banging those devices on each building, as kind of like a warning or like just a way to create dissonance amongst the attackers.
Dude, when they've got Marva held up in their house and she's just like, you know, it gets to you after a while, doesn't it? It's just like but when it really gets to you is when it stops, essentially, you know, and eventually they all have that street locked down, thinking that they're gonna come through that way, and then eventually it stops, and they find out like they're not even like, and Cassian just sneaks up behind Cyril and just puts the gun in the back of his head, and I was just like, dude. Speaking of that gun, I love that is one of my favorite pistols in Star Wars, which is Clem's blaster. So you see like earlier in the flashback, that's Clem's blaster that Cassian gets. MW20 Briar Blaster pistol, a different version from the K16 Briar Blaster pistol, which is Kyle Katarn's, one of my favorites. Shout out Dark Forces.
Everybody needs to remember that. That's like really important Grayson lore. I knew it as soon as I saw it in the Clem holding it. I was like, Grayson's gonna love it.
I know, but I was like, yes. Speaking of another thing that I really like, in the little shipyard, I believe it is Pelga is his name, the guy that is kind of like has like the ship rental service. With the dogs, one of the ships that he has is a VCX 100, which is the Ghost Cruise. One of my favorite ships. Just saying, love that ship. Another thing I wanted to mention. Really cool out of universe to in universe retcon. So, did you know what Cassian's original home planet was in the Rogue One Visual Dictionary?
Oh man, I was thinking about this. Oh god.
They say it in this show. They do say it.
It's not. Why am I thinking? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably on the tip of your tongue. So, in the original Rogue One Visual Dictionary, the homeworld that was listed for Cassian was Fest.
Yes. And
I always thought about that, and I had completely forgotten that
I know what you're gonna mention. That's right. Please go ahead.
When they go, he goes to Marva, and she's just like, who? She's like, I'll figure out what happened later, like because they put out the alert or the warning to the people of Ferrix about looking for a dark-haired male from Canary. She's like, well, that can only be him. Like, who have you told that knows that you're from Canary? The official report, what we've told everybody is that you're from Fest. And I'm like, that is so creative. And probably what just happened is they were like, you know, I'm sure Tony Gilroy was just like, hey, I want him to be from this specific planet. And they're like, okay, well, that's not the planet that we listed. And he's just like, okay, well, we'll just use that as a reason. We'll just say that planet that's in that Rogue One Visual Dictionary is Fest. And that's what they've said he's from. Really creative. That's awesome.
Only Star Wars would have to do something like this. because everybody's so like, you know, Ki-Adi-Mundi shouldn't even have been born yet, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's that's a really great way to just kind of connect that. That's really glad that you caught that. That had totally slipped my mind.
Yeah. Because that was something that I literally just saw like on Twitter years ago. People would be like, when Andor was coming out, that they were like, oh, this, like, they retconned, you know, Cassian's home planet being Fest. And it's like, a lot of these things with these visual dictionaries and stuff, like, you gotta have to take with a grain of salt because new information is constantly coming out and mistakes are going to be made, and they are made strictly just for the fun of it. And if it's going to serve the story better for him to be from a different planet, or for Ki-Adi-Mundi to be 100 or 200 years older than he actually would have been, you know, like, it doesn't really, like, it's just because it was written in one little thing in a book, like, I don't think that should be held to the standards of the story, but it was cool that they acknowledged that. To be, it's almost like you're reading the visual dictionary and to be like, he's from Fest, and it's like, oh, he's not actually from Fest, he's from Kenari. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I'll say that it's not without reason, at the very least. I have to give some people credit because, like, Disney kind of did this to themselves. Like, they put all of that Legends label over everything, and then they were like, okay, now everything that comes out, this is going to be the true canon. This is going to be the stuff that is like, word of God, word of the Bible sort of thing.
Right.
And then if you change it, well, if you're contradicting yourself, then I would say probably shouldn't have said it in the first place. However, I do think that getting so upset over it about, Ki-Adi-Mundi's age, which, by the way, wasn't that Legends material anyway? Yeah. Like, it's not canonized. And if it comes out in, like, a visual dictionary, yes, that stuff's going to change because there's going to be content that, for instance, Dave Filoni might go, oh, I have a much more, like, there's a story that I want to tell, and I want to put it on animation. Basically what they did with Kanan in Order 66, right? And it's like a weird, soft retcon in a way, like, could be interpreted.
Even down to the Ahsoka novel, with like that being like, it has the Siege of Mandalore in it, and the way Siege of Mandalore happens is way different because what Dave Filoni hadn't had created Clone Wars Season 7 yet, and when he came out with that, eventually he's like, hey, I want to do it my way, but it doesn't mean that, like, the lady who wrote the Ahsoka novel was just going on the loose bullet points that Dave Filoni gave her of, Ahsoka went there with the 501st, they have the orange helmets, they capture Maul, whatever, so, like, that's why she has a green saber as opposed to a blue saber. Like in Tales of the Jedi. Like, Ahsoka kills an Inquisitor in Tales of the Jedi, right? So it's like, they kind of adapt to those bullet points, which once again goes to the campfire allegory of, like, there are some bullet points that kind of remain the same through each story, right? But they change a little bit every now and then. I got into a debate with someone today on Instagram, and they were a very pleasant individual, but they were kind of talking about how they don't really like the whole campfire thing, which is totally valid. Like, if you want everything to be, but at the same time, it's like even Legends itself wasn't completely congruent. Like,
absolutely not. Legends was a complete mess.
like there is now, they did their best to try to retcon stuff to make everything fit, and so technically everything is in the EU, but like, we're reading the Thrawn trilogy right now, and it talks a lot about, like, they don't mention the Sith. They mention, like, they're just dark Jedi because they didn't know what the Sith was. The Sith were not invented as an actual term until the Phantom Menace. The same thing goes with, like, Pelion talks about the Clone Wars, right? And they're creating this lore about, like, how, if clones were made too fast, they'd go crazy or whatever and stuff like that. And it's like, and they're under the pretense that the Clone Wars were clones of the Jedi, not, clone troopers, and so it's a lot of stuff like that they're trying to fit in. And one of the biggest ones from that whole interview with Sam Witwer, where he's talking about the campfire stories from Dave Filoni, is it's from Darth Maul Shadowhunter. He's talking about an audiobook, and I know the exact moment he's talking about because I caught it myself, is in that book, which was written in like 2000 or 2001, that Darth Maul is from Iridonia because that's where Zabraks are from. But then later on, they changed it to where he's from Dathomir, and that's just because it's like, well, yes, that's because they didn't know he would be from Dathomir later on, but you could say that, maybe at that point he thought he was from Iridonia, and then later on it's revealed he's from Dathomir. He finds out later on he's from Dathomir, So it's just little things like that, and to be also with the whole Fest thing, and speaking about Legends, this is why the EU was swept away. Not to say that it doesn't matter and things aren't pulled from it all the time. Obviously, Thrawn and all of these other characters have come back into canon.
Oh yeah, but they almost can't help themselves now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's cool to pull from that stuff, but like if they were counting all of that stuff as canon, the hoops and ladders they would have to jump through to create new stories. I mean, like, from one workaround of like Cassian's home planet from a visual dictionary, imagine that to the nth degree with the EU. like either they would just have to straight adapt stuff, or creating a new story would have to be so particular it would take them forever. To have someone like Tony Gilroy, if the EU existed, could never create this, because it would be like, well, the rebellion was actually created in The Force Unleashed, and so wouldn't Cassian have to be there? But
correction, actually it was started by Sev from Republic Commando for some reason.
It's like, dude, the rebellion was created 16 different times, It's like, well, actually, they did it in Rebels. And it's like, wait,
you wouldn't be able to make a story. I mean, like, honestly, at this point, like, I feel like it's probably still true today, even with all that they have kind of put under the Legends label now, is that you're probably, when you're writing a story, you're probably gonna have to fact check like every single sentence.
Yeah.
Because there is gonna be some guy on Twitter, that's me, who goes, what do you mean? Like, this wasn't, I don't get it. I don't understand. Where's Delta Squad? I need to know where Delta Squad is. Scorch is still alive. There's a campaign that I'm starting down below. It's called Raise Awareness for Scorch Living. His armor, he survived the fall, I swear. It's the revived
Scorched
command.
but not forgotten.
I don't. Thanks, man. All right, Scorched but not forgotten. down, link below.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we got to
So Andor. We were talking about Andor.
Back to maybe Scorch will show up in Andor season 2.
Dude. That would be so dumb. But
great quote I have here from Cyril Karn, which is interesting because he's on the opposite side, but maybe he will have a face turn. The risk of doing nothing becomes the greatest risk of all.
Yes, so there are a lot of really good edits with Andor. And namely, that quote with Cyril is said a few times.
Okay.
And here's the thing. He's right. If you're talking about, like, especially from a rebellion perspective, that is really, really fitting. And I recall, like, rewatching these episodes, I was like, man, what a good line if he weren't such an asshole.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it makes me think, because, like, it's weird. This entire, and of course because he's coming after people who were murdered, which, like, I understand that.
Yeah.
But, when you think about it, what he's doing is rebelling against Premor and using what his abilities allow him to do to hunt down this killer. But I think eventually there is going to be a moment, and we're going to get more Cyril in these next coming episodes. But, he doesn't necessarily get on the Empire's good side. And so it makes me think, could there be, what what I thought of when I was watching? He reminds me of, like, let's say they had a plan for this character, which they did not. Let's say they did. Cyril would be who General Hux is if they had a plan for his character, I think. Because I do think they are teeing up Cyril not being very pro-Empire by the end,
Yeah, so I called him an asshole in my previous sentence, and, like,
yeah,
I say that because it was really funny. He's total narc, right? And, like, he's talking to the employees like, let's go, like, he would be, he's the one kind of guy that you really don't want to work with.
No, he's telling that one guy to, like, look through that footage all night to be able to figure out where the ship went, and
threatening
he's
his position. He's like, I'm sure someone will love the chair. And, like, I think that what is important to remember is that I feel like Cyril Karn is a great representation of the reminder that the Empire didn't just have, like, people that were involuntarily conscripted or a bunch of evil people. There were also some people that vehemently believed that this was, like, the right thing to do. From even a moral perspective, where they just believe, like, this is the morally right thing to do. Like, there needs to be justice and order, but they really don't think about it too much in depth, at least that way that causes one to think rebelliously, right? And so for Cyril, that's kind of how I'm feeling, because, like, he is, like, he just wants to do a good job. He wants to do right by himself, by his reputation, by the company that he works for, but also, like, he wants to investigate the murders of the two employees, right? Like, he sees this is very important, and, like, this could be something very interesting for his character. That I don't know. Maybe there is something that just kind of pushes that edge to where he realizes, oh, I maybe this is bad.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we kind of see later on as well, but you know, I don't remember every single detail of like, he's not exactly super hot on the Empire when the ISB comes into play, but you know,
he's super hot on Dedra though. I mean,
yeah, he's like, I love you.
He's like, you are so cool. How do I be on the ISB? That looks really awesome.
Yeah.
Please call me back, Dedra.
But speaking of Cyril and someone adjacent to him, Cole, everyone in their life needs a hype man like the Sergeant in this show.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That guy is Cyril's #1 supporter. He's like, let's go, man. Oh, good job, sir. Like, take points, sir. Yeah, suit up with us. Boost morale. You're that guy, you know? And it's also really funny because we're Batman fans. You know who this is, right?
Oh my God.
The Sergeant from the Batman?
No way. Wait, is he the detective? Is he the commissioner? No. Oh my God. What's going on here?
Yes, he is the commissioner. He's just happy effing Halloween, you know? Oh my gosh, dude.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. But like, he has such a forceful way of speaking. It feels like he's yelling to you no matter what the volume is.
Yes, yeah. It's that Scottish, you know?
Yeah, I think it's funny because like I had thought this during my first watch for Andor, but like the Sergeant guy does a much better job than Cyril does, arguably. Because like Cyril, even though he has that great line, he doesn't give that good of a speech. He doesn't really boost the morale of the guys. The Sergeant's running pretty much the whole show, even though he totally botched it. But like, he's just kind of, I don't know. It's funny because he's like Cyril's version of Cyril, right? How Cyril is to that captain guy that he spoke to before. But then they're both like validating each other. Like his first introduction, he's like, couldn't have said it better, sorry, you know? They're both like validating each other, and Cyril's like, right, I know, we should be talking about this. This is important.
Even like down to the speech, like he gives like a way better speech than Cyril is very like nuanced, and he's just like, let's go get him, guys, you know?
Let's
and he's
go
like,
get him.
But he's
I'm
he's
so
like,
honored to be working with all of you, and it's like a bunch of narcs, and that's all.
Cyril and that guy, it's like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about, sort of thing. Where like that Sergeant is just like, you know,
the new guy, the new guy at work. That's like one-upping you on everything. Yeah,
it's great, dude. Yeah, I think we have so many more characters that are going to get introduced, and I just cannot wait, dude. Like, I honestly forgot how little of the primary cast of characters is introduced in this part. Like, you know, the Ferrix people are like kind of fade into the backdrop a little bit until we get towards the back end. You know, like we're about to get opened up into a whole new volume of some of the other supporting characters with Dedra and with the people that are on Aldani, I believe. Is it Vel Sartha, the blonde?
We haven't even seen Mon Mothma yet.
Nope.
Haven't even seen Mon Mothma.
I was blown away by that. I was like, Mon Mothma's not even in the show yet, dude. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, she's pretty much like the I would say pretty close to like the secondary character of the show.
Yeah.
At least that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Saw's gonna come in later.
Really good scene with Luthen and Saw coming up. Yeah. I love honestly, like all of the scenes in the show are great. I mean, there's one thing in the 3rd episode, actually, that I was like, that was dumb, but
what was it?
I wrote specifically in the notes, it just says, Tim kind of died like an idiot. That's all. I didn't think about this before. I used to feel really sad about Tim, and in a way I still do, because I feel like he was trying to do the right thing, but it was innately out of like jealousy in a way.
I think part of it was jealousy, and part of it was protection of Bix.
Right. It was like trying to look out for her, but like he was drunk as well. But like
he was like,
So, okay, we'll go ahead and talk about it. Bix is captured by the Corpo guys. She's detained like just to like a building, and like they've got like a gun trained on her, and Tim like runs up. He's like, "What's going on? Like what is this?" And he's like, and you know the Corpo guy's like, "Stop right there," and he like trains a gun on him. And then Tim's like, he stops, and then the Corpo guy says, if you take another step, I will shoot you. Tim pauses. He looks at Bix. He looks at the 4 men that have guns trained on him, and he breaks into a full sprint. He gets shot and dies.
Yeah.
What did you think was going to happen? You have 4 guns trained on you. Even if, like, you thought that they were bluffing, Bix was in danger, okay? Like, he just running fully at them after specifically being told if you get any closer, you're gonna get shot and killed.
If I had to think about it, and I do think, yeah, of course, I do think it's meant to be like, this was a dumb thing that he did, but I think the reason why he does that is because he feels so guilty about what he did. Like, because Bix finds out shortly before that, like, when the Corpos get there, she's like, I can't, like, she's mad at him. She's like, I can't believe you would have done that. You know, like, she is, and to be honest, this is another thing. I feel like Bix is just so, like, lukewarm to Tim anyway, but maybe that's just her personality. I don't really know. She just doesn't seem like she wants anything to do with him. But yeah, I do think he did that because he was like, you know what, I gotta make up for what I did.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say Bix, like, tells Tim literally nothing. And so, like, I understand how he feels. Right. Like, she's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go run errands. I'm just gonna go do stuff. And like, sure, it's covert. There's a lot of stuff going on. But like, there is a level where communication needs to be, it's, you know, it's a two-way street, right? It just doesn't work that way. But I just remember just going like, dude, Tim, stop moving. Like, and especially like he stopped, he was threatened, warned, and then he just was like, like literally the chance of meatballs, like sprint.
Yeah,
full
the
sprint.
cop just, he was the John Bernthal. What is that? What is that?
I was like, what were you gonna do? Like, what would he have done when he got over there?
Yeah, it is interesting that immediately after that, the head of like whatever team that was, North team, East team, I don't remember, but the guy, they definitely weren't planning on shooting him. The other guy got trigger happy, which is
a lack of communication. Definitely, I think, because like the guy that actually said he was going to shoot him was like, he looked over at the guy that did, was like, give me your rifle, get back to the pod. And it's just, it is funny because it reminds us of how much of an absolute show that Corpo operation was. It was so badly handled. It got out of hand so quickly to the point to where the sergeant is yelling at Cyril going like, "Sir, we have to get out of here," you know?
And he's just completely like dissociating.
God.
Dude, can we talk about that firefight in the warehouse, dude, with all of like the chains and stuff, dude?
Yeah.
That scene, that act, like, again, when it goes to the whole like Andor is boring. How? That gunfight is so good, dude.
What are you talking about, right? There's no, like, really, just tell me how it's boring, really. Yeah. And like, I remember I had a conversation. Tense. I had a conversation with someone, and he was like, oh yeah, I just thought, and it was when it was coming out. And he was like, yeah, I just think Andor's boring. And I was like, why? And he was like, yeah, there's just no plot, like nothing happens. And I was like, the entire thing is plot. It's like it's like the most plot heavy Star Wars show that there is.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean nothing happened? There's always something happening. It doesn't have to be like pew pew. Like, what do you want? Like the Geonosis arena battle for everything. You know, just the entire time.
Every like decision from a character is impacting the story. Like even what you said with Bix of like her not communicating with Tim, had a direct impact on why he did what he did. And not to say that like, oh, it's Bix's fault or anything. I think Tim is a very protective, maybe too protective of a person. But at the same time, you can understand why he got to that point because Bix wasn't, really feeding him anything. She was being very secretive, and inadvertently that does lead to his death. That leads to the Preox Morlana guys showing up. So that is the interweaving.
I mean, look, I don't know if I can say the same. No, I think I can, but we'll say for now, for the first 3 episodes of Andor, I think a very big theme is just the idea of consequences, because like, yeah, you get in trouble with the Corpo guys really try to rough up Cassian. Consequences. Both of them are killed. Cassian ends up, fighting them. Consequences. One of them is accidentally killed, and then he ends up killing the other. He gets in trouble. He brings it back to Ferrix. There are consequences. The Corpos are brought to Ferrix. Cyril does too much and investigates the murders that his captain told him to sweep under the rug. There are consequences. The entire operation is a total botch and people die. Bix doesn't tell anything to Tim. There are consequences. Tim goes out of his way, out of like both jealousy and protection, not knowing anything, brings the Corpos to Ferrix. Tim doing that, there are consequences. Tim himself gets killed. Like there's consequences. I mean, honestly, you can even consider like Marva taking Cassian from Kenari.
It is the domino effect.
It's all about consequences. Even with Luthen, there are consequences. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, even Cassian getting this buyer because of this Star Path unit. There's another thing as well with the Star Path unit to get Luthen, and only for Luthen to be like, "I've been watching you. I want to take you with me." And they leave the Star Path unit. That is a decision that comes up later on. So yeah, very cool stuff. I love the layering. It's so. I wanted to mention something as well. I think I failed to mention it earlier. So when these episodes came out, I remember these were the episodes when I looked back on the show that I was the least hot on, because here's some context as well. When I first watched it, I was sleep deprived. I only had like 5 hours of sleep. It came out at night, or it came out like really late in the day. So I didn't have time to watch it. My dad, I came back, this is when I was still in the college program. You had left like a month before. And so I went back home to visit for a weekend, and I was like, oh, we'll watch the first 3 episodes of Andor with my dad, because they'll come out when I'm there. So we watched them, but I was tired. I was far away from the screen. It was a smaller screen. I don't have good vision. I have glasses. No subtitles, because my dad didn't like subtitles. It's okay. And on top of all of that, we watched them back to back to back. So my viewing experience was not exactly the most elevating in terms of being engaging. Like, I'm not going to lie. When those 3 episodes came out, I was lost a little bit. And because I was sleepy and I fell asleep for a little bit. And so, I was dozing in and out. Now, upon rewatch, having watched them when I was energized, up to a nice full screen with the Blu-ray, which, by the way, phenomenal.
We're not sponsored.
Yeah, no. I wanted it. I was like, I'm gonna get the physical media for this, and the quality is just so good, and so it truly boosted the elevation. I mean, like, I was watching an episode and I was like, okay, this episode's gonna be an hour long, not checking the timestamp. And the first episode ended before I even knew it. I was like, oh, it's over already? And then the next episode, I'm like, oh, it's over already? Like, and so I was like, again, I was like, I think people kind of rag on the pacing a little too much. I think this show is paced extremely well if you give it the attention it deserves. But I know we already went on that whole soapbox. So that's what I'll say is I enjoyed this second viewing of these 3 episodes so much more than my original viewing. And that makes me very happy, because for me, the next 9 episodes, I enjoyed even more than these. So I can't even imagine how I'm going to enjoy them going into it, watching it for the second time,
Yeah, I agree. I think that I did want to bring this up, that it is very interesting to see Luthen's introduction with knowledge already of who he is. Because when you're watching episode 2 for the first time, or like hearing about the Contact in general for the first time, just watching how he presents himself, you don't know anything about him. And like, even after seeing the entirety of season 1, you don't know a lot about him still, but you know more about his character and what his goals are. And so seeing a few scenes of like, him going to Ferrix, and then him being like on that bus where that guy just keeps talking to him.
Yeah, that is such a real experience, by the way. Like,
it is. and I was really like, I was locked into that scene, actually, because originally I thought that it was just kind of a little funny, but now I'm like, how does Luthen feel about this very, I don't know, I guess I would call mundane civilian talk? And there are a few times where this old man says something that kind of like cracks a little smile on Luthen's face. And he even like starts asking him a couple questions. Because in retrospect, you recognize that as Luthen himself says, his entire life and soul is gone, burned and buried for the sake of the rebellion. He has no time to think about, like, I don't know, the intricacies of all of this stuff. He doesn't care. He burned away every facet of happiness or the prospect of a meaningful, calm, happy life for the sake of this cause. And so, like, originally you just see this old guy talking to him, and like Luthen's just kind of looking out the window. He's not, he doesn't say anything for the first couple sentences. Yeah. And then the old man's like, what are we doing? You know? And I don't know. I just found that to be really endearing. And as I had told you once, that like after Andor season 1 ended, that Luthen was like one of my new favorite Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
That is still holding true, even during the rewatch. That I really like him. He's really good. I'm excited.
It's so interesting going back, you know, having a loose idea of like, you know, okay, I know what happens in this show and being able to pick up on that. Because I think, I mean, when those first three episodes came out, like, we knew nothing about him. You don't figure out really anything about him other than he's a guy who buys things, and then he was keeping tabs on Cassian. One thing that resides true is that Luthen still has one of the coolest and best ships in all of Star Wars. Yeah! The Fondor Hallcraft, because I guess I found out it doesn't actually have a name, which makes sense. I don't think Luthen would name his ship, but it is still one of the coolest and cleanest and sleekest and best designed ships in Star Wars. I need a Lego set of that so bad. Like, we
haven't even rewatched like the specific scene that everybody knows what I'm talking about if you've seen it, right? Like, it's a great ship.
Hey, Star Wars RPG people for Force and Destiny, Edge Games, if there's one of you who has a connection, please put the Fondor Hallcraft as a stat block. It will be every single one of my players' ships for the end of eternity. You know,
I need there to be another Dawn of Rebellion source book that is like Andor coded. Okay, I need to know more about it. I want to see the Fondor. Give me a Luthen stat block. How difficult would it be to talk to him in like a competitive atmosphere?
Putting Luthen in a campaign would be like, you have to be, if you're going to be regarding canon, that would be tough. Because like Andor is so meticulous.
You would have to like read Shakespeare to be able to improv off the cuff with his lines, right?
Oh my gosh, he has a second speech. He just actually repeats that speech to everybody. Like, he's just like that's actually the thing. He just does that all the time. That one guy, he's like, I've heard this speech 7 different times.
Do not ask him what he sacrifices. Do not. Please.
He's like, well, as a matter of fact.
I'm glad you asked.
You know that like that Shrek gif of him like looking down and then like looking up and smirking? That's Luthen, you know? Or he's just like...
Oh, man.
That's pretty much all I got for these first 3 episodes. I'm not gonna lie. Originally I was gonna be pretty meticulous about watching these episodes like the day before we record, but I'm so stoked to rewatch these. I might just pull the trigger and watch the Aldhani heist arc as soon as we're done recording, because it is just that tantalizing.
The Aldhani arc, which is just as loaded as these first 3 episodes, man, if not more. We're gonna have a lot more to talk about. But just to be sure, Grayson, I feel like you know this off the cuff, which is why I'm asking you, how many episodes do our viewers need to watch so that they are caught up with us when we do our recap next time?
We'll be watching the next 3 episodes, correct? That is, it is. They do these in arcs. So we finished the first arc today. we will be going to the second arc for next week, and therefore after that and after that, literally leading straight into Andor season 2, where it will continue.
Let's go, baby!
So you're getting, I mean, I'm not kidding, you're getting 8 straight weeks of Mortis Andor coverage.
It is guaranteed. You will have 8 weeks of Andor.
Yeah.
That sounds like a 8 weeks of Andor, 8 weeks of Mortis as well. It just sounds like a special holiday event.
Might as well be for us because we're such Andor simps, you know.
Yeah. If anyone was listening to audio, I did a little face there. I agree, is what I'm saying. I am 100% simp for Andor. For Cassian Andor, 100%. Diego Luna.
Cassian Andor.
My number is in the description. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
maybe.
But, last thing I have to say, Cassian is one of my, in terms of the style that he has, the drip that he has, one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He always looks so fresh. I won't lie, like the beard that he has in these first 3 episodes, because unfortunately he shaves them, but I understand why. He just like his longer hair, the coat with the hood, dude.
Have you seen his drip in the season 2 stuff? He's got like the slicked hair. What's he doing?
In season 2, there's a shot of him walking across the Yavin 4 shipyard. And he's got the jacket that he wears in the very beginning of Rogue One. It's like this leather black and brown jacket. And he's just like strutting, you know, and I'm like, this is my guy, dude. I love Cassian.
I really got to know what happens with Luthen. I am really afraid he's gonna die.
Yeah, I was talking to someone today. I'm like, it is so hard. Well, we'll get to Andor season. I mean, we're going to speculate throughout this entire thing, but you know, when you think about I think like the 5 main characters that we do not know their fate with Bix, with Brasso, Luthen, completely blank, Cyril and Dedra. Those are the 5 main ones.
Technically B2 Emo as well.
We don't know. We don't know B2. I don't, man.
Interesting theory from Seth from Beyond the Dune Sea that he has mentioned. He believes that B2 Emo might become like the chassis for K2SO.
I have seen that. I don't know. They just feel like such different characters, you know? Like I just feel like it would just be like B2 is so protective and so he's such a little teddy bear of a droid, you know? I love him. Whereas K2 is just like, get out.
Well,
like
here's the thing, you know, like maybe because we do know that he kind of sparks the Ferrix what do I say, street brawl maybe, by showing Marva's kind of whole thing, and I don't know, maybe a droid
maybe
can be
he drastically
inspired to rebel
changes
too. And it also could be a byproduct of switching personality, chassis or something like that. Yada yada, technobabble. But
so in that encyclopedia that I wanted to read about, I read about Cassian and B2 in the thing, and it, I mean, this is things that we talked about it all throughout this episode. These are things that they could change. It does say that, you know, Cassian later finds and reprograms K2, but that could mean a whole lot of things. So I don't know. I'm so stoked for K2, and dude, we get Krennic in season 2, man. Oh my gosh.
That's gonna be fun because we'll hopefully we'll finally be able to see Krennic in a place where he's not being constantly undermined by or like disrespected by people above him.
Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, Thrawn shows up. He's like, Director Krennic, you stupid baby. Imagine. You know, it could happen. It totally could happen.
It totally could happen. Well, yes, it could. I was about to say, I was like, he's still. I was thinking about that last night as I was watching. I was like, Thrawn is still in the galaxy. Like he'll pretty much be in the galaxy until up until episode 9 of season 2. So those first 3 arcs, Thrawn is fair game. And I will say, I do think we might get some slight acknowledgments of maybe not straight crossover, but we might get some acknowledgments of crossover between Rebels and Andor.
I wouldn't be surprised.
At the same time now.
I wouldn't be surprised if like there was like a little drop of like, man, the TIE Defender project was a total disaster, right? And we're gonna have to reroute stuff. Krennic, I need you to deal with this. It's those little things that just kind of remind you, there's so much going on right now.
Okay, give me 5 characters that let's say you like they are going to show up, but you get to choose who is showing up. What are the 5 that I think we did this for Bad Batch season 2 and none of them came true. But let's do it now. Who are the 5 that you want to see? I have a couple in my backlog that I think would make sense to show up, but who are yours?
That I feel would make sense to show up.
Yeah, would make sense and maybe wouldn't feel like key jingle, you know?
Well, I haven't given it a lot of thought, so a lot of this I could change my mind later.
Yeah.
I think I'll just say Thrawn, since we were talking about it. I think that could be a really cool through line. I also believe, hopefully, that season 2 will touch on Mon Mothma's speech, essentially announcing her defection from the Galactic Senate, which is really just the Empire, and denouncing Palpatine. And so maybe I don't know. I think it would be interesting if maybe we saw Hera, like in a little call. That could be cool.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to keep thinking. You do 2, and then I'll do another 2.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, Thrawn and Hera were definitely 2 on my list, specifically because there's some shot, and I know you've been intentional about not watching the Andor season 2 trailers, so I won't really spoil anything there. But there is a planet that a couple of the characters are on that looks a lot. It's the same environment as a lot of people were saying it's Lothal. I don't think it's Lothal. I think it's Dantooine, and Dantooine does show up very briefly in Rebels season 4 or 3, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And we know that the Rebels do have a base on what it says. I looked up in the encyclopedia, and what it says is that Dantooine, they have a meeting there of one of the first formal meetings of the Rebel Alliance.
Okay.
Right. And I'm like, and when you think about it, I'm like, okay, right now in this show, Kanan and Hera and Ezra and Sabine and Chopper and Zeb are all out doing, right now, as these episodes that we are watching in Andor season 1 is the same time as Rebel season 1. So which is pretty fun. But yes, okay, so Thrawn and Hera I won't say those. I do think one that could very much happen would be Bail Organa.
Yeah, that was gonna be another one of mine. I love Bail. I really do.
I think it's almost like a given, considering Mon is going to be leaving the rebellion, and he kind of will follow suit. Another, again, I said this for Bad Batch, but not one that I necessarily want, but I do think could be extremely interesting. Would be Moff Gideon. Just and I don't just because I think Giancarlo is such a powerful actor, and I think he could be such a cool. Again, I don't really know what he's doing in the galaxy, but that is one. And
ISB, and
exactly.
And Dedra's big ISB, right? And so it could be very interesting, that could be a really interesting thing there.
And I know that this is an extra one, but I mean, I do think there is a high chance we see Galen,
man, that could be really cool too. Man, okay.
Yeah.
So this one is really far-fetched, and honestly, I don't think Tony Gilroy would want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we had spoken about this before. Cal. Look, okay. We know that Cal worked with Saw.
Yeah, he did.
The timeline fits, right? Does it?
So here is my main hesitation with Cal. As far as we know, because we don't know what happens to Cal, it could fit. The thing is that the end of Survivor is synonymous with Kenobi era. So that's still 4 years prior to Andor season 1. So I think if he were to show up, unless the next game is set after his appearance in Andor, it would confirm that he lives for the next 4 years, but they might do another time jump, and that might be intentional. It might be a thing where they're like, and that might be an intentional marketing thing where they're like, hey, Cal shows up, and also, by the way, we already know for the fact that the next Survivor game will be in 15, or it will be in 4 BBY or 3 BBY. So it jumps again another, another 5-6 years to where Kata is older, and he's older, right? And they've been on Tanalor this whole time. I don't know, but so it is possible.
Right. So okay. So like I want to stress to everybody that like it's kind of the same thing as what you said about like Gideon. It's like it's not something that I really absolutely want to happen, but it could be really cool. I think the problem is that going super forcey would kind of detract from the vibe that the Andor stuff is intentionally giving off. However, it would be interesting if, like, I don't know, maybe there's a scene with like Luthen and Saw, and for some reason the Kyber crystal, he's not even there, but just like for some reason the Kyber crystal that Luthen carries around is brought up. And then Saw mentions, that one Jedi that, he used to roll with on some of his missions years ago. Like, for whatever reason, it's brought up. That could be just a neat little, wink, wink. Hey, true believers, check out Jedi Survivor.
He's also, in Rebels Season 3, he works with Kanan and Ezra. So, we go to Geonosis.
Saw has done a lot.
He has been around. He has interacted with the main characters of Star Wars with Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Rex. He has interacted with the Bad Batch, got Tech killed, interacted with Cal Kestis. I just thought about that at the point in Fallen Order. Tech is already dead by that point. Saw has his actions has already gotten
Stop it.
He's interacted with the Ghost crew and then with the Rogue One crew. So he is Saw Gerrera like the Nick Fury of the Star Wars universe?
Well, what I was gonna say was like, it's funny because I said the True Believers joke. He's kind of like the Stan Lee, where like he shows up everywhere. There he is. He's in the background.
And that is funny lore for us, I think, because one of the first times that I ever spoke to you, in an Xbox party chat was the same day that they announced that Forrest Whitaker was going to be playing Saw Gerrera in Rogue One, and we were like, huh?
Yeah, because we I think it was when we realized like, oh, he's a real one,
Yeah.
He knows about Saw
I like
Gerrera.
Star Wars, and I was like, oh, dude, Saw Gerrera from the Clone Wars.
What do you know about Saw Gerrera?
Yeah. That guy that shows up in 3 episodes of the Clone Wars. You know that guy?
I bet you didn't know I did. I got a lot of Star Wars stuff on my shelf there. And
at that point, we were inseparable.
Yes. And then Mortis came to pass.
Was born 10 years before it ever actually. I'm not kidding. That would have been 10 years ago.
Come on.
That's crazy. Look at us now talking about Saw Gerrera on the internet. To you, the people.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed. But and speaking of which, that nothing has changed, Cole, I think the ye old tradition must continue.
Chat pack.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Chat Pack. Imagine it being
Cole,
a question about
how it'd be. Give me a number.
Ooh.
Between 2 and 124.
Let's do 63. Is that your processing noise?
Oh. 63 exists.
Oh, it's this. What do we got? Is it a weird one?
It's funny. It literally only works in this context. Okay. Look at the person across from you.
Should I be looking at the camera?
and think of a friend or family member. What? Oh, sorry. Or think of a friend or family member. Okay. I was like, I'm thinking of my father.
I'm thinking of my friend who I'm looking at.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is going to be a slam dunk answer for me. All right, look at the person across from you. Blank. Which Star Wars ship or vehicle can you imagine that person piloting? Cole, I'm going to cut you off. I imagine you piloting the Fondor Hallcraft. It's just a given.
That's really...
It just suits you. It's clean. It's classy. It's sleek. It's got a little droid that talks to you.
I am honored. I am truly honored. You want to know what's weird for me?
What?
And this was a gut instinct answer, so I didn't even fully think of it yet. I was just like, he drives the Ebon Hawk. Maybe he pilots the Ebon Hawk.
Dude.
I don't know why. I was just like, I feel like he would pilot the Ebon Hawk because it's like
just a chill guy.
I mean, it really is just the KOTOR Millennium Falcon. Come on, guys. Come on.
Dude,
come on.
But it's sick. It looks so cool, dude.
It's awesome. I would know because it's been my hub world in Blade and Sorcery for years.
That's awesome. So, I forgot because you let me play on your headset, and I
really cool.
Murdered thousands of people with Jango Fett's blasters
in one room. Really beautiful.
Yeah. I think, what room is that? Is that like where you?
It's like an armory.
Yeah.
It has like all of the weapons and stuff in there. I think it's usually supposed to hold cargo. Mm-hmm. But it's got all of the rooms from the game in there. It's pretty cool.
That's so great, dude.
And it's all in like really bad texture quality. It's full
probably
immersion.
just ripped from the game, right? Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
That's awesome. Cool. I love the Ebon Hawk. That's awesome. That makes me hyped for possibly KOTOR. But yes.
Stay tuned.
Cool. That's gonna do it for this episode of Mortis FM. Just want to, of course, do our usual housekeeping. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For if that's the way you're doing it. If we've got some new people, I should mention 400 subs. We are at like 409 subs right now because the last time we were at 380. So thank you all for 400 subscribers. For people that are new, yes, very happy to have you. Our opinions are our own, but they don't have to be your own, and that's the beauty of it.
Opinions. Look it up in the dictionary, idiot.
Yeah, I'm like, let me just explain what opinions are.
Our opinions are our own, that of which we believe, which is not fact, but it's what I believe.
Yeah, there you go. Facts are things that are true. Anyway, but yes, again, Andor retrospective in the next 3 weeks leading up into Andor season 2, where we will be covering that for the next 4 weeks as well. If you are listening somehow and not subscribed already, feel free to do so. It is free. No pressure, but it is free.
Yes, it is free, and there are rewards. And by rewards, I mean you are told when we, make something else. And also, Grayson was pointing at his face. There is the reward. And you know what? Another reward right here. Not as good, but there's a reward right there. Oh my, he's mogging. He's mogging. Oh my God. Hey, look. It's a wonderful reward.
I gotta stop.
This is like our most convoluted like wrap up that we've ever done. I think.
Listen, we're a little rusty, but that's okay. But we will be back next week for the Aldani arc of Andor season 1. Cole, do you have any other housekeeping before we wrap this baby up?
Look, all I got to say, thanks everyone for being here. And please, it would be so much fun if you guys were to watch Andor along with us. Why don't you catch up on the Aldani heist? And when we upload next week, we'll be talking about it then. So hopefully you'll have some to say. If you do you agree with our opinions that we told you what opinions were? I had to clarify that, the facts and opinion and all that. If you agree with us, tell us. If you don't, tell us even more, because usually people will. So we'll be happy to hear it. But we're happy that you're here regardless. And Grayson, at the very least, I do have one very important thing to tell you. I've been waiting for a little while, okay?
Okay.
All I gotta say.
Yeah.
May the Force be with you.
Oh, thank God. And with you!
I made a funny mistake here and forgot to say always, but I do scream a really funny goblin scream. So if you want to hear that in like 5 seconds, here you go.
Yeah!